mute things correctly. Everybody should be able to hear us. The classic first two sentences out of my mouth when we do a stream. What's up, everybody? Please let us know. Give us a little bit of rats in the chats. It's been a hot minute, folks. Oh, I love to see it. A to the J, classic. Aramil, hello, Winter. What up, crew? Question off the bat that I should have noticed earlier. Aim and shoot, posting feedback or just demo review stream for this one. If you are in the chat and you're wondering, like, what these hashtags, what is this? Aim and Shoot is talking about our Discord, baby. Linked at the top, linked on our Blue Sky, is probably linked in our Twitch profile. I don't know. But for this stream, we're taking from the demo reel review stream specifically so that we know those are the ones that are fresh and most likely people to be present, so we can even have a little bit of a back and forth with the animators and gamers in the chat here. So I'm gonna dive in. It's been a minute since we've done this because work been busy, y'all. We've been busy, and that is okay. But we are our goal for 2026, New Year's resolution, New Year's rat solution is to be more consistent with these streams and make sure that we have a cadence for all of y'all. If you're just joining us, we are the Riot Animation team, not the entire Riot Animation team, but a subsection of people who are here to stream with you. We can see your chat. If you have questions for us, you can type them, tag at Rat Animator so I can see it. And today we are going to be doing some demo reel reviews. We have a long list already of a bunch of demo reel reviews. And so if you're like, oh, I want to get in there, it is unfortunately probably already too late. The best way to do that and to be a part of these streams is to be on the Discord and look out for pings in the announcements channel for when we're doing them. We also have a great community of people offering feedback all the time. A lot of the wonderful faces and names that you see in here, but also rats coming in and giving feedback in the feedback channel, which is the one for just regular time when you're looking for eyes from anyone. Anyway, big spiel up top because it's been so long, and I see so many first-time chatters in the chat. Frog Boy, Dennis Doss, Jeff Forks. What's up, everybody? We're excited to be here, and I'm excited to be here with a great group of rats today. Can we kick it off with some intros, crew?
I got you. Let's get it started. Hello, I'm John DuPont. I am an animator on League of Legends. I work mostly for cosmetics on that team. So any cool skins that come out, I'm your guy. That's me.
Word.
I'll jump in next. Hey everyone, I'm Corn McCrate. I'm a senior animator on the Valorant agent team. Before this, I was on Overwatch, and then before that, I was on World of Warcraft. So I've experienced quite a different range of animations, but I'm very happy to be working on agents now. And yeah, happy to see I got. What's up, David? Nice to see you, man. And I'll pass it off.
Yo,
Yeah,
I'll go
can
next.
go- Oh yeah, Skylar.
Okay, it's me. I'm Skylar. I'm a senior principal animator. I work in R&D at Riot on unannounced stuff. Been around a long time. Worked on League of Legends and whatnot, but now in R&D working on fun new stuff. That's it.
Yeah, hello, me. So I'm Kaylee Choi. I'm animator on Valorant team, and then currently I'm working on the skin team. Yeah, recently I worked on the Reaper 3 skin line. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Hi. So next.
My name is Warren. I'm on R&D as well, and I've been here a long time of 3 months, so I'm still learning everything to do with the Rat team and Riot and stuff. Having a good time so far.
Right on. And I am Lana Bashinsky. I'm an associate art director here in R&D as well. And Warren, so funny to introduce yourself as 3 months new. I know it's been a minute, but some of you might recognize Warren from our rat stream, the most famous rat stream, where we had a chance to chat about Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and also previously of a bunch of great work at Riot. So we are here to do demo reel reviews with you. What we've got, our classic format, if you are new to us, is that we are going to, I keep saying demo reel reviews. It is animation reviews. I love a single shot. We love a single shot here. So we do have a bunch of demo reviews, but we have a couple single shots as well. The way that we typically go is we try and time them to be about 10 minutes each. We're going to watch a demo reel through all the way once, and then we're going to start out as a group giving overall demo reel feedback. So anything you should cut, overall quality, things that are missing, focal points that you need, and then we're going to select one of your shots to give you notes on, and then it will be your responsibility to sort of extrapolate the learnings from that into your future exercises. And then we're going to move on. We're going to get through as many as we can. I know some of these rats got to scoot out of here, so we are going to jump into this and get through as many as we can. Rats, we have the doc. Does everybody have the first animation up? It's called Assassin Anim. Is everybody in here?
Yeah, it's all good for me.
If
Good
this
to
is
go.
your animation as well, please let
Yep.
us know in the chat so then we can ask you questions about it and provide, while we watch through, hit us with any context you might want us to have. But let's let her rip. Gorgeous.
Very cool.
The context is I'm being called out for not having previously given feedback on this, which I am sorry about. But looks like a cool personal exercise.
Does the chat tend to get spicy? Am I gonna have to keep an eye on stuff and have some comebacks ready?
Look, if chat gets spicy, that would only feel most resonant with my typical rat experience.
Perfect.
But everybody's usually pretty nice. Any initial thoughts, rats?
One of the first thing that comes to mind for me, I think this is really fun. I like the fact that you're showing two different perspectives. One of the first things I would do is I would actually switch the order that you have them in. You start with the character really small on screen, and it's not quite as exciting when you're seeing them smaller. That's cool to see for like gameplay purposes, like as a gameplay animator, like, oh yeah, how would this actually feel in gameplay, like the scale of it, like the distance that it's moving upwards. But for like the initial first image, I think it would be a little more exciting to start with the characters have a bigger presence on screen and showcasing them like with the full animation, and then show the like the in-game perspective farther away afterwards.
I agree with that. I remember when I watched this, just prepping for the stream, I was like, oh, I wish that was closer. And then you gave it to us. So a little reversey there would be awesome.
I got some. So the overall scenes are cool. Do we just jump in? Is it okay?
Yeah, do it. That's great.
The whole thing is always forward. You know, she's always forward. She does everything, but she always ends in the, you know, her pose is forward. It'd be cool if you got like her using the space to like screen right and left. So you know, she finishes an attack on the left, and then she swoops around and does one that's coming on the right, for example. Just to kind of get some variation in the feel and use the space more of the body that has. Yeah, that's my note.
Yeah, I think it's a great note. The context that we got in the chat is that this was for one of Adam Turnbull's pose challenges. I think this was the pose. And like, what a fun loop. Like, what a great take on that. Big plus one to Warren's note about everything being forward, especially some of these. You get like these really beautiful, quick, violent strikes. But even as it ends, especially when you are staying, even though it's zoomed in at the same camera angle, we sort of get this flat arm and like short dagger. I think there's room to have the body almost twisted around a bit more from that, and seeing how this is ginormous for some reason. Seeing how that the force of that affected her posture and would give you some interesting like twist action that you could have through here. And you can keep the body still like quite forward, but having some impact through the rest of it as you go through that feels like it's tugged, and it'll just add a little bit more physicality to that, even though it is this exaggerated thing. Even having the head then at the end of it, you know, the hood could be facing a little bit more this way. She could be looking a little bit more out of the side of her eye with the hood kind of this way. And then whatever her arm, I think that gives you leeway to reveal even a little bit more of what this back arm is doing in this in preparation for that next swipe. If you're able to use this arm to yank the body out of the way, you can get a little bit more clarity to have a bit more, a little bit more, teensy bit more anticipation for that next swipe, even though they're really quick would be cool.
Yeah, one other thing you could do to help with the squared off. I mean, all the posing things that these guys have been talking about is awesome. But a lot of times when I'm doing these attacks in the air, like one of the things that you gotta think about in the air is that you're not on the ground, so there's no friction that's like resisting the character anymore, right? So whereas if you were on the ground and you were like swinging to the left, you'd like plant your foot on the left, and then your body would twist and you kind of catch yourself, and so you would have this sort of like pose to pose feel. One of the things that's cool about being in the air is there's no friction. And so as you hit these poses, like even if you were to change nothing else, if you were to kind of like come to this point, having literally the entire character still continue to like rotate in this pose and sort of like, I talk a lot about spacing, like having it like zip through and then get like this really tight spacing at the end where it's just kind of like drifting evenly at the end. So it like zips through and then you just get this sort of like slow motion feel to it at the end where the entire body. So all the posing things I think they said are really exciting and will definitely like help this. But I almost feel you could even take like the root control of the character, and as you're doing all of that, almost like on a layer above, have it be like have this little like feeling to it, where the character is also kind of like where you're paying off some of that like in air feeling to it.
Yeah, I have also one extra the polish note as well. Like when I dragging the animation part like here in the air, like I can see lots of the translate the feet, but there is no enough like the rotation. So you can see all the feet the rotate like it's the same and moving like back like this. So adding some like good like rotation value together and blending each other gonna be cool. And then also when you add the camera shake, so actually, like when character landed on the ground, like you can put it to camera like whoosh, and then that's gonna be your motion mix like more powerful. So yeah, that is good animation. Keep going. Mhm.
Since we were scrubbing through this area earlier, one thing I like to do with the characters, like when I have them in the air, like if you're tucking like this, it's kind of like a small note, but with the feet right here, I would like to tuck them together. So you have like this silhouette that comes down to kind of like a point down here, essentially. So you might be able to like kind of actually minimize this negative space right here and put the feet closer together. And it kind of like draws your eye in this way where like you see like the compression too. So your eye's really focused on like this mass right here. And it makes like, it's also like when characters are spinning too, you're doing it through here. Like I think this is like a note that I would give them through here too. Like it could probably be like, so yeah, I think your idea is like you want to minimize like this, you want the legs to be kind of a shape when you see it through there. And I think you could sprinkle that note onto this moment right here as well. And that would also help you explode the shape outward into this moment of energy. It's like compressing the shape really small and then bursting outwards really emphasizes that next pose. So I think that would add a nice little spice to that moment.
I think it'll also be great because you have the dagger there that like it'll clean up that silhouette and make the dagger even more cleanly out to the side of the body if you get that sort of that nice triangle and getting those feet sort of tucked into that more solid mass. Then your eye is like, oh yeah, there's a dagger out there that's going to burst out. I think will be great.
Yeah, something I'm noticing as we're sort of going through each of the attacks, I think that there could be a bit more just like emphasis overall on some of the antic poses and just really kind of getting like a difference between them and the end attack pose. I noticed it especially here when we've got this antic and then the slash pose. There's not a lot of pose change with the body itself. It's kind of like building off of Warren's note earlier, where it's like not having it like super straight on, but I also see that for like the general kind of like pose of like the spine as well, just sort of always being in this like hunched forward kind of mode. So yeah, I think just trying to like create that like differentiation of like what's sort of like the difference between like the antic and the end pose that's going to really kind of like read the power of those slashes a lot. It's not just the arm that's carrying it, it's like the whole entire like spine and like the rest of the body.
I also wanted to talk quickly about two more things. One, we've mentioned in like a million shots before about putting something in the background to just give like a gauge of the space. And this is a great example of just having like an absolutely minimal background, but that creates like enough of a contrasting background shape that you can like, when the camera does pull in, I know we talked about maybe like changing where it pulls in and whatnot, but it gives some you can tell what the character is doing in the motion. If there's nothing in the background, or even if it was just a grid or something, it would be a little bit hard to like tell what's going. So this is like a great example. Just throw a bunch of cubes in the background. It does like a huge amount of work to just like make the space feel three-dimensional and the movement feel three-dimensional. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the VFX, because they're in here, and usually we don't talk much about VFX because there aren't a lot of shots with animated VFX on them. But I did want to give like one thought on these swipes. You have like you treat the swipes kind of in two different ways when you're animating them here. So this first one I think feels like a nice slice, and the reason for it is that the way that you're decaying this slice is like the anime way. I like think of it as like the anime way that they do it, which is that the slice, like instead of like decaying like in the direction of the blade, where it's like a tail that's like slurping back into the blade, instead of that, you're like decaying it towards its edge. So it's kind of big sweeps across the entire length of the swipe, and then it decays towards the edge. So the last frame you see is this nice little like beautiful slicey little line, right? And so it kind of describes the entire arc of the action, and then it's like this pixel thin line that then flips away, so it feels like she's like really cutting in the air. Now, if I contrast it though with the treatment on this one, it's actually very different, and it actually feels different too. Like this action has a little bit of less of a slicey feel to it, and so I'd love to see the treatment be the same on these, where what you actually do is describe as much of this total action as you can with the sweep, and then decay it towards its edge instead of towards the blade, so that the last thing you see, like on this frame, ideally, is like a pixel thin arc like this before it goes away. And I think that will help that specific one in the middle get some of the same like slicey feel as that first one you have does. So that's just something to think about when animating these VFX, that if you're using like the same weapon in the same way, sometimes if you do the VFX a little bit different, it can actually drastically change the actual like impact and feel of the weapon, even though it's like a very similar type of action.
All right, rats. Oh, that actually puts us pretty well perfectly at time. Only 10 seconds left on the timer, so I think that we should call it there. Aramil in the chat. Can we get huge rats in the chat for this, baby? Awesome stuff. It really is. You know, we hone in on the notes, but this is a really beautiful, really polished piece of animation that you have here. You should be super, super proud.
Thanks for sharing.
Righty.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, rats, let's transition to Sing Sketch number 2 in the Google Doc from before. Okay. And this one's called 3D Reel 30/04/2025. Really evocative naming for this. Everybody ready to rock?
Let's rock.
All right. This one's a full reel, so let's see what's up.
I have sampled every language. French is my favorite. Fantastic language. Especially to curse with. Nom de Dieu, de putain de bordel de merde de saloperie de connard d'enculé de ta mère. It's like wiping your ass with silk. I love it.
They were so big and scary. I couldn't.
Target 沈黙。余裕だな。
All
I
right,
have
gamers. Don't forget that you mute your own audio on your side. Initial thoughts. I have the dumbest initial thought that I could possibly have. And I talk first because I'm very comfortable talking first because I formulate opinions so fast. Ugh, I can't stand that I can see the grid there. I just can't stand it. Also, are you in the chat? Whose is this? Show yourselves if you want. But there's like little teeny tiny things like that when it comes to presentation that you have that you don't need it because you have these shadows, but then you follow it up with you have these shadows, but you're not touching the ground. There's just like a little sort of edge thing there that when it comes to presenting a demo reel and people get the chance to frame through your stuff, this piece has some interesting weight and some good stuff you're doing. Don't let people get distracted by little details like that. It's killer. It's killer. Um, and the other note that struck me right away because I'm so triggered by this rig because I used it in one of my final shots in university that I'm like, first of all, I know your pain. I do. I know it. But I also know it's like a Sphinx cat, and I know that Sphinx cats don't have like little droopy ears that would like droop down like this. This is like a cat rig, and a scared and unhappy cat's ear folds back flat against its head like this. And because of that, it's changing this into like a little rabbit creature. And if that's your intent, I'd be like, find a creature that you want to use. But if you're going to make this a cat, I feel like you got to fold the ears the way that people would expect those ears to fold and get them into that shape. Otherwise, honestly, I was just like extremely distracted by the old droopy ear. So those are like my hottest takes. Any rats with other overall real thoughts?
Yeah. Can I?
Do a Warren.
So I think you've got a huge range of things on the reel, and you've obviously explored a ton of stuff, which is awesome. But I feel like at this point, it would be nice to dive deeper into something. There was a single aspect of it, be it like you dive into more of the acting shots or you dive into more of the physicality shots, just to get a deeper understanding of that. I think what you have here is a really cool range of experience now. But then how do you dive into the polish on one of those pieces? Because trying to do everything at the same time is just like crazy. It's just so much. Each bucket on this reel is just so much depth to it. So I don't know, whatever interests you most, but like, do you want to do more body mechanics or more acting? Because they're hugely different buckets of work. I feel like at this point, picking a direction would do you great benefits, like going forward, I think.
Yeah, I kind of plus on that, honestly. I think it's great that you are like exploring both, and it's just going to make your animation skill set all the stronger. I think especially when you're applying to places, just knowing like what they want to see, like for a game studio, having more of that like body mechanics, physicality, for like a movie studio, having more of that dialogue scene and like acting. Like those can be two separate reels as well. Like I think that's how I have it set up on my site, where I mostly delved into like the body mechanic stuff. So I was like geared towards games on going and applying to places, but I still had my acting scenes that I had in its own separate thing, just to like show the diversity of stuff that I can do with the animation. So yeah, not to say you can't do both. I think it's good to like focus on the one that you're really wanting to put your best foot forward in. Like if you want to go more into movies or more into games, to either go more into the dialogue or more into the physicality, but representing that sort of like one solid thing, because there's a large like range of different kinds of like physicality and different kinds of acting too. So being able to show that breadth in one reel, I think is sort of like getting the best bang for your buck in terms of like the 60 or so seconds that you have in a demo reel time.
Yeah, and just to sort of pull like what I think this through line is really far forward, you have such a range of stuff, but none of it is really hitting like a super high degree of polish. And in trying to polish any one of these shots, like a long dialogue shot that you have at the beginning, or like this really like two-person character physicality thing, like it would be so much time to pour into that. And that is okay. But I do think you will have an easier time of it if you are focusing your energy on like, I'm just doing the body mechanics for a while, or I'm just doing acting for a while. It will make your leveling up faster to let yourself focus, because the lessons that you will learn in one space will still apply to all these other ones. I wish that you were in the chat so we could know which way you kind of want to go, so we can pick one of these things that would be exciting to you. But sorry, Kaylee, I interrupted you.
No, you good. Yeah, I can give my experience. Like when I apply the league team like a few years ago, I put my acting shot, the first piece in my reel. And then I heard they just close it like because I didn't put the game like like body mechanic animation in the beginning. So my like kind of suggestion gonna be if you wanna apply some like the gameplay animation team or something like that, just put your most polish it and then most like your strongest piece in the beginning. Because like like they have a lots of the candidate and then lots of reels they're gonna receive. So just put your best thing in the beginning. That's gonna be your most like gonna be good job for that. Yeah.
A great note. And so, just to move this along so we can get notes on a specific piece for everybody, is there one of these pieces that you think is their strongest, and what in one piece that you would cut? I can start so that people can
I'll
go.
say
Oh,
something that
good. Come on.
personally I think that the takedown shot has a lot of like it's a big bite. It's impressive to see. There's things you'll look for as you become like a more seasoned animator. Is like if I was watching a reel with like a takedown like this, I would start looking at how the two models are interacting with one another. If you're like letting like penetration go through, if you're like actually having like very very nice interaction between the model, like I would start thinking like, oh, this animator is thinking about switching from FK to IK here and maybe switching parent spaces and everything to interact. So it's like something that has a lot of the range that a takedown shot like this can really get polished and show a degree of like thought processes, I think is really exciting for like a newer demo reel. Just because people can really like, you can deep dive a lot further into like, and then like the questions too that they might ask you, like, how'd you approach this? Did you have any problems with like, technical issues and everything? So I think personally the shot has a lot of room to be very impressive, and I think it's already going a good direction.
I agree.
Go ahead, John.
I agree. That's it.
So everybody feels like this one's of the strongest.
We've got some cool cycles as well going on. The cycles are cool, but yeah, if we're gonna pick one, this would be good.
The one that I would nix off the bat is this horse. I think you have higher quality animation. Even this cycle, I think, is a higher quality cycle and it's like pretty cute. It like the rig is really sweet. You have kind of like this little personality that's in there that feels cat-like. But this horse, I feel like it's very subjectively, I don't love the model. I think the model's like a little bit toony and gruesome in a way, and then he's shiny because of the texture, which is not an animation note, but just my taste. But I also think that the cycle just isn't as strong, so I think that it's taking away from the rest of your reel by having this piece in there, because you will always be judged by your lowest quality piece that you have. Alex Ferrer in the chat. Is that you, Alex? Because I saw Anna Flo earlier. Now I feel like there's a doppelganger, but we got a vote for the robot chasing the car. Great. That's Alex in the chat, everybody. Another rat. Okay, so let's dive in with our remaining time here.
Real quick.
And I'll bookend this quickly, and we can give a few more specific notes before we move on.
Real quick. Just to sort of bookend the walk cycle thing that you were talking about earlier. I agree. Like, I think that it's important for like each piece in your demo reel to kind of like stand on its own as like, oh, hey, like this is a skill set that I could do. So the fact that you already have like another walk cycle, I think already shows that. So yeah, well, let's do this.
Well said. All right.
I'll give a couple quick thoughts about this. I think the thing that stands out to me about this shot the most is the desire to, okay, so like the shot is like a stealth kill, right? Like it's like this stealthy character sneaking in and executing this guy. And so I'm desiring a little bit more stealthiness. There's actually like a little bit of a like, I don't want to say like a clumsy air to the character, but like this first bit is nice, like where she sort of silently, or they sort of like silently slide down. But then when they hit the ground, it actually feels like they sort of have to catch themselves. And so this is more like acting and specificity, but having the character like one kind of, stay on their toes throughout all this, so that it's like, oh, they're being like silent, and that the pose they end up in is like clearly like an intentional, like stealthy pose. Like maybe it's something like this, where they're a little bit more like intentional about the pose, and they've like kind of slid out as they hit the ground to like quiet their fall instead of like thunking onto their feet, right? So just thinking about like literally as simple stuff as like make sure you're hitting like a stealthy pose, and that the way the feet are hitting the ground or like the quiet way to hit the ground are all things you should be like thinking about when trying to like make a character feel stealthy. And then similarly, when the character starts like walking towards this guy, it's kind of like step, then step. And if you were kind of like, if you wanted to be stealthy, contrary to like what we often want in animation, what you really want is this like smooth, even pacing where the characters like almost like snakily smoothly, and they're like softly planting the feet and moving forward at a perfect steady pace, and then it gets them right. And that's kind of like the feel you want there too. And so just literally looking at, you can kind of see what I'm talking about if we look at the spacing on the torso, right? It's moving forward, then it kind of stops here almost completely for all this time before the next step happens. It's like for a long time kind of pinned there, and then it starts moving. And so it gives it this kind of like a little bit of a lurching feeling, which if you're making a different kind of character could be all right, if that's kind of what you're going for. But for this kind of stealthy character, you kind of want this like smooth ninja feel to it. And so basically all throughout the animation, I would be like thinking about like, how can I get the character to feel stealthy? What's the kind of spacing that's going to make the character stealthy? How is the character going to touch their feet to the ground to be as quiet as possible, and try to get as many of those things in there as possible, because that's the kind of specificity that we're going to be looking for. I always say that like the thing I'm looking for in a reel is to go, like I kind of liked how something like felt, right? And a lot of times that is just like delivering like the exact specific thing that your brain wants to like scratch the itch, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to give us a 2-minute warning, so continue, but notes tight.
Yeah, I think if there's like one central thing that I would focus on for this shot, is just a lot of like trying to have more texture in the timing, because there's a lot of like physicality that's happening, but I feel like it all happens really consistently, in a way where it's like it doesn't necessarily feel like there's any fast or slow moments. It sort of feels like all the moments kind of have like this constant, like consistent kind of speed to it. I think the thing that like really makes like a physical shot like feel powerful is to have that sort of like difference of this like really slow action, and then boom, like something really fast happens afterwards. So if I were to like pick apart an example of this, it would be like this takedown over here, just kind of having this like moment where it's like this, maybe like there's like a slowness of like when he's like going down, and then like boom, like he drops down to the ground like immediately, and then there's sort of this like recovery point over here, like when he drops down, like that has power to it, and he and she are gonna sort of react from that takedown. It kind of feels like once he's down over here, we're already at the next part where she's sort of like dragging him away like Solid Snake style and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of like the thing that I would emphasize is like when there's like an action happening, or like like when she's like taking this guy down, like having that happen really fast, and having sort of like slow moments in the beginning and the end to sort of like add power to that fast motion that happens when she does the takedown.
Beauty. Great notes. I'm going to move us on, especially because we've got so many demo reels today. But the last thing I was just really quickly going to say is, and I'm going to be a broken record. It's really cool to have a rig that has like a lot of cool shit on it. You got ears, you got hairs, you got puff sleeves, you got puff pants, you got claws on your toes and your hand. All of that adds like a weight of expectation to the way this character feels and moves and what you can do with it. And it can frequently really muddy your silhouettes if they're not like crystal clear. So it's a very cool character. But there is also greater challenges that you'll face in figuring out your physicality and how to make great posing with having all those accoutrements on the bod. Can we get some rats in the chats for your name? Syed, please. Rats in the chat. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
Thanks, Ed.
All right. Demo reel number 3, baby. We on it. I'm looking for Elijah. If you're in the chat, let us know. Is everybody here with Elijah? You're here. Welcome, first time chatter. Excited to have you. We're going to take a watch through, but type up a little bit of context. What are your goals? Where are you at? And then we can try and give you feedback that helps you the most. Everybody ready? Let's get going.
I'm living proof that you are never going to have better days ahead.
Only when I have ceased to breathe will I be dead, Tanley.
I'm so jealous of you right now.
No, just wait a minute. We're not really breaking up, are we? Come on.
I was just looking at you, and you are so handsome.
All right. Timer's on. First impressions, rats. Oh, a little context for you. Elijah says, I'm most interested in film, but I also love the idea of working on cinematics. I'm currently a grad student at ETSU.
Nice. Yeah, the acting shots are really solid. I probably, if there were anything to take out, it might be the chase and escape shot, just because I feel like, yeah, you really want to do a lot of this acting stuff. So in my opinion, I feel like just go for it with the acting.
Small thing. Good job on having. I really like when demo reels. The thumbnail is literally your name and everything right there. It's like a small thing, but it like literally puts your name and your information in my head while I'm sitting here before I even watch it. So I think that's a small thing everyone should do, is just have your name up there immediately from the beginning before the video even plays. So people know who you are.
Mm-hmm. I do think it's very clear from your reel that you're interested in film and dialogue, cinematic stuff. I do think that even in film, they do a lot of mid shots and a lot of close up chatting. This one I think is your best shot by far, because you have a lot of the physicality in there mixed with the acting, whereas this one I think is like there's polish needed on the physicality, and you're like adding this camera work in there, and some of these are really just the acting stuff, which then also needs more polish in a different way. But blending those two things together, I think there's a lot of mid shots and like pretty stable. I see a lot of the same kind of camera shot across the board, that it kind of by the end of it is like the acting and like you're also doing like a lot of dramatic things, like the choices that you're making are not, they're samey enough that by the end, even with a short reel, it's easy to sort of get bored and be like, okay, there's another dramatic mid-shot acting piece. That having some more physicality combined with the acting would give it a bit more visual interest, especially two characters talking to each other, entering and exiting frame. There's like a lot of work that you can still do there and be working on acting and physicality at the same time, which I think is missing from the reel right now.
I really like this last shot too. I think this last shot is I think you really caught the tone and everything, and this big exhale. So it's I think that is something that's hard to do as an animator, is you want to do like the big exciting stuff all the time and like the big physicality, but having shots like this that are emotional and like it's like a just sometimes those are the hardest. So I do appreciate when someone does minimal animation that really shows. Sometimes that's the hardest. So good work.
Yeah, I think you did a very great job. The same thing, Corinne, like this like emotional shot, but like this one, I think maybe more focus on the emotional part, like because this one like character is moving a lot, so maybe trying to like make animation like this, and then also beginning part like characters and like you can see the sit down, right? Actually, but I cannot see any weight, and then body physicality there. So maybe here, like beginning shot, focus on your body mechanic, and then trying to make more emotional, like deeply, like something like there. Yeah, gonna be much cooler than like this shot. Cool.
This one, you said, so this is like a cart, because one of the things that confused me about this one is the dialogue of what you're saying and then what they were doing. I thought this was like a tentacle. And I was like, oh, is this like a monster? But then she's like, we're not breaking up, are we? And I was like, I don't have like my bearings here. Is this a steering wheel? And then this is the car?
It's got to be a bus. Yeah, I thought they were on a vehicle about to drive off.
It does look like they're like talking to like somebody who's on like a lifted vehicle, if that's the case. It's pretty high up there. But then it's like low enough that it kind of looks like that she'd be like on her knees. It's a truck. There's like some weird scale things happen that I think a little bit, a little more context would help place it in my mind.
Can I jump in?
Please
I
do.
think on this shot particularly, I think the other ones are a bit more organic in their movements, especially the head and the neck and the way the actions are, the gestures are. This one in particular, sometimes the head feels quite robotic in terms of it goes left and right. It moves in straight lines a lot, which you don't have on the other ones, especially when she's doing like some of these movements there, especially. And then if you just focus on like, I was just looking at the eyebrow and it's got a lot of noise, zigzaggy noise, makes it feel stiffer, and other ones don't do it. So just be mindful of trying to make things more like, keep them organic, keep things moving smoothly and slow in and slow out and arcs and things like that. And then on this last shot, specifically, I'm not going to talk about the whole shot because the whole shot's great, but specifically the way the face moves, there's a lot of this area here which doesn't move like at all on around here, right? So you've got like the eyes are moving and they're doing stuff, and the mouth's are moving. It doesn't feel as one connection of like the cheeks should be like fleshy, and basically what you do on body mechanics involving squash and stretch, you stick on the face as well. So like if the jaw moves, it squashes up this side, and then length stretches on that side, and so on. So just be mindful of trying to get more gooiness, organicness to the face as well.
Right. Is there one that we want to pick and have more specific notes on? No strong opinions.
I like second one. Like I saw like this modeling rigging like at the first time. This character looks so fun. Yeah.
This one here?
No, second one, like this shot. Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's chat about this guy. Da-da. All right.
The stretch is maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, stretch too much.
Excuse me. I think one of the things I like that you're like sort of forcing this contrast in there by like how down he is before how up he gets. I agree that there's like some bit of gooiness in there, but I also think that because of the overshoot and he starts sort of like releasing the puffer as he's descending, we don't get like a really clean like and like holding the pose and really getting the chance to register it until he's already sort of out of the pose. So having a bit more stability coming through here, I think you could steal some of the frames away from this stretch, because part of the reason I think we see it because we see so many frames of it. So it's really palpable. Stretching that much implies like it's going to be so quick that you need that to help guide your eye. And I think it just gives him like a bit, he is like got like, you know, big cheeks and this barrel chest that gives him a little bit of leeway to be gooey. But I think it makes him feel gooey, scudgier. And we see that stretch happening, especially like through the button and things that shouldn't feel like they're stretching anyway. That I think you could steal some frames from that time and hold him a little bit cleaner, a little bit more stable at the top of this pose versus having this action be happening all at the same time into his sort of final release of that thing.
I think that's a good note. I think that's something that I didn't quite know what was happening the first time I watched the clip because of that moment right there. And then until the very end, I saw the was it inhaler. So I was like, oh, okay, that it makes more sense now. But it is that missing that beat of when I think of a deep breath going and like hitting that big pose, or like something they do in like classic cartoons, or they're trying to hype themselves up. They start doing like a walk and everything after they've taken that big, like you see their chest make this big shape and everything. And I feel like that really elevate that moment.
I also like what even just you did in your acting. Like one of the things I think about is that, and having even like a contrast of his acting versus the personality, like this person that he's putting on to be like he has to do this, and having sort of like a moment where his face is reacting to that versus being so chill and then staying so chill, but being like this really unglamorous like thing that he has to do, and letting that be like a read in his face as like a physical, like his whole face is in taking this thing and shocked by it before he recedes immediately into trying to be cool guy, saying, what does he say? I'll stop breathing when I'm dead, or I'll die when I'm dead, or whatever it is. I think it would add more silliness to this character versus him taking himself so seriously through the whole thing and saying a silly thing. It kind of would feed into the fact that this guy's an idiot a little bit.
The one other thought I had about this is more just like a meta thing about the whole, well, not meta, but you'll understand what I'm saying. All of the gestures in it feel like they have equal weight. So everything he does feels like it is the same amount of big. And this guy is clearly like a big character. And so I think it's fine that his gestures in general are over the top. But from just a pure texture standpoint, it's rare to see a person, even I grew up in my family and entire extended family were Italians who like talked huge with their hands and were very exaggerated, but there's still, even within that, very like small motions and big motions. And so I do think this shot would benefit from picking one of these and making them a little less, and maybe allowing like the face to do the work. Because he's like, I'll sleep when I stop breathing or whatever, right? So maybe that like second to last action is more just like, I'll step back a little bit so you like see me, is a little bit more just like a contained motion, and you get this like face is what's doing the emphasis. Maybe there's like a big expression change there, so that last one, which is clearly like the sort of biggest moment when he says Tanley, right? Then that can be like Hanley, right? And big, and feel like it's the emphasis of the shot, as opposed to each one kind of feeling like, because the whole thing ends up being like Hanley. And so if you really want to emphasize, I think the ones I would emphasize is the dead. I really like that motion where he like brings his, like he's like, or when I stop breathing, I think is when he puts his hand down, right? And then Tanley, I think would probably be the two that I would pick. And so let the other ones just like creep back a little bit so that those big moments can shine.
Great note. I got the buzzer. Any rapid fire notes we want to end this one on before we move forward?
I think maybe I'm like half and half on this. Take it with a grain of salt. I feel like there could be just like a little bit of like anticipation going into the dead, like the finger point there. There is that like little bit, but I feel like we just get really quick in and out of that anticipation. So maybe because I'm listening to the line again where it's like, will I be dead? Right. And I'm like, part of me is wondering if like the antics should start at like, will I be dead or something like that. That might just be more of a taste thing. But I feel, yeah, as it stands, it might just be like pretty quick. Having a little bit more of that like antic in there to like work with the accents and the dialogue when he says dead. Like there's like a buildup with that, both in his line and in his like body movement.
Great notes. I'm going to call it here and push us forward, try and get another reel in before any people got to reel out of here. Big rats in the chats for Elijah. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. It's awesome stuff, and we love to see it. All right, what are we on? Number 4 now? Is that correct? I think it is.
Yeah.
All righty. Number 4. Transition. All right, Ignacio Perez Quiroz, if you are in the chat, let us know. And we are going to hit play. Everybody ready?
Yes. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Mhm.
Alex in the chat says, I want those rocks to be all hand animated. That honestly is kind of my first impression as well. There's like a lot of time spent on falling rocks that look simmed, which is fine, but not, I mean, it's fine to sim rocks, but it's like a lot of edit time dedicated to the rocks
Mhm.
that I assume are not all hand animated.
Mhm.
I were to give just an overall note on this, I think a lot of stuff that's happening is really cool. I don't know if the camera is doing any favors to depict how cool the actions are, in the sense that I feel like the camera is just sort of like constantly moving all the time, and so I don't feel like I can appreciate the animation for what it is in this demo reel. There is a lot of like really cool stuff happening in this. I would just maybe try and like simplify the camera a bit more to only sort of like move when necessary. Like in this shot in particular, like in the beginning, it's sort of like constantly moving over here. I would personally just like really keep it simple to be like, hey, like it's still here. Yeah, like I didn't even like see that before,
The
right? Like that's
Murloc in the
the
background?
there's so much moving, which is cool, and I think that we can like capture all of that. But maybe just kind of like keeping this to be a still shot, and then when he like walks across the camera, that's where we get that one pan, and then it just sort of like lingers on that one pan. That's enough, honestly, to like convey like this is a really like busy and frantic scene, in my opinion.
Yeah, great note.
So I'm gonna give my like general thought on this reel, which is actually my feedback for every single shot. So everything in this is like really ambitious, and you pay off a lot of like some of the physicality and stuff is really neat, but it's all very, very even. Like everything feels kind of at the same pacing. And so like my biggest feedback is like I think the best thing you can do with the whole reel is like delete frames and like literally change nothing even about some of these shots. Like let me give an example. Like here's one example, right? When he does this he does this lunge forward, like you could start here, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 frames and go straight to here and then like swoosh around this. Like I can almost like scrub it, like, and that like feels nicer than all the frames that are there. Another example is this gargoyle, right? He does this huge wind up and then right, like you could almost like boom, like have this like super fast up and then almost like slow time at the top of it, where you just like add time there, right? And that's going to just take these shots that are already like a lot of the physicality and stuff is actually there, and a lot of them are like animated really well, but they're just very even. So doing like a timing pass, I think, on almost every shot in this without really changing like much about the animation will already take this stuff to like from like pretty good to quite good. And then there's like polish and stuff you can do obviously on top of that. But for me, that's the number one thing that'll like level this up just like instantly, is just doing like a syncopated timing path on to try to get everything to have like a different rhythm to it. There's some parts that are really fast and some parts that are really slow. I always try to like think of anytime I think that there's like of an action as like they're doing a fast thing, I'll try to make it fast than I think is okay. And usually that's fine. Anytime it's slow action, I always try to push it to be slower than I think is okay. Starting at these extremes for me tends to be closer to the ballpark of what I want at the end than starting with something even and trying to like add that later. You can always kind of like soften it out. It's really easy to soften things out when you're animating in Maya and the graph editor and all that stuff. There's all sorts of tools to soften things, but getting some of that hardness and that sharpness into it at the start, I think, is like a really easy way to like juicify this reel.
Yeah. Shout out to Brendan Animate in the chat, another rat in the chat. After Effects Retime Tool is your friend. If you're nervous about like, oh, I really like my animation and like, am I going to have all these versions, or you're like worried about how to chop it up or where to even start, using the retime tool in After Effects can help you get a good look at where you want to make adjustments so that when you go into Maya, you can quickly be like, pop, 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 and like set keys and scooch things together and have a good time. So a big +1 there. One of the other things I noticed that about this shot that I think is funny is it does feel like, just because of the cut, like I didn't actually notice it the first time we watched it, that it cuts at all, because the character is in a pretty similar place on the screen. And even though you have this thing there. There's enough gray in it that I didn't register right away that there was a camera cut, which made it kind of funny. And the camera cut is still like such a wide shot and so pulled back that by way of like filmmaking and making this an interesting shot, there's not like a sense to why the cut is different. So thinking about that and not like being super disorienting, I think what Skylar's saying here of like letting this character fly up and have like a little bit more hang time up here so that they have something interesting, and then maybe opening their wings more and more time, cutting on that action, and then cutting a little bit closer in at like a much more dramatic angle will give you that momentum that I think you're looking for, while also eking in another cool pose and making it feel more like you're like closely connected to the story that you're trying to tell.
Check out the animator. There's a reel that stuck with me a while ago. Is animator by the name of David Vince. He did Total War animations. So if you look up David Vince, look up animation. Like he's got a really cool reel with like a bunch of kind of like big epic creatures like this, but he does really like subtle but nice like camera work during it also. But I remember one of the things that stuck with me about his reel is he has these giant creatures like battling on screen during it, but like they take up like a very nice size on the screen during it, and like they might come and go from the screen a little bit, but I think there's a lot of things that he did very well, like to show off like the epicness of these creatures and these battles between like a small knight versus a large like dragon or something. So
what was the name of it? I'll write it down on this thing.
David Vince, Vince, and it was a Total War animator.
Total War. Because I don't know if they're in the channel. This is one of the spots just as you were talking. That like holding in this pose here, like one of the things Scott was talking about, just holding in this pose for a while and letting the camera even like push in a little and then like smashing out of that thing would be super powerful. Sorry. I got distracted drawing my own notes. All right. Is there one of these that we want to give a few more specific notes on?
I just want to give one
tiny thing
possible on the end here.
Yeah,
Was,
hit it.
the whole reel is like super action based. It's really cool. And then this last shot is a bit dry compared to the rest. Partly, no camera animation is one thing, but also the character just is not doing too much. It's just stood there, and it could be, you could either jazz it up a bit, have it running towards the camera or something, or the camera zoom in or something if you want to add action to it. But also, as a demo reel, as an animator, you're supposed to have an eye for noticing things, and as your demo reel is supposed to be your best example of your work. And so I would just cut these 10 dead frames at the end because it shows you missed a bit when editing. Just to cut that off, just people don't see it and go, oh, there's no animation there.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was the first thing I noticed, and then I immediately got distracted from it.
I was just going to comment on that too.
Oh, John, go ahead.
I'm good. No, that's it.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, I wanna add one animation though, like overacting one, just one simple thing. Like I saw like same animation though, like all the shots. Like when I see your animation, I see lots of your symmetry pose, like the arms, and then also they're moving at the same time. So I saw here and then like here as well. Like yeah, here. So I see lots of the same issue, like all the animations. So check make the little more asymmetry and then like offset like 2-3 frames or 1 or 2 frames. So gonna be much better your animation. So you can go, Lena.
Oh, I didn't have anything. I was gonna say, is there something? I feel like we have like a smattering of notes across the board. Is there one of the shots in particular that people have drawovers or specific notes for? Can you hear my stomach through the microphone?
No one knew.
I see the green bar like hit. Anyway, sorry, I'm a hungry baby. Wham.
Wow. Said the thing.
I never would have known. Ride yourself out.
Oh my god. Anyway, sorry, I'm just distracted.
I might do, if I was to give it notes, it'd probably be on this one.
All right, let's do it.
Or even this, we could dive into a little bit more because it's got some broad physicality on these shots, which would be fun.
Thoughts? Sword guy or demon?
kind of want to look at Demon personally. I think that one's really interesting.
All right, let's do Demon. I'll bookend these. Oh my gosh. Chaos. Rock chaos. It's a lot of frames of rocks. Okay. Let's go. One of the things that sticks with me after seeing it a couple times is how you have like these cool motions, and you have like even like his legs coming up, and it feels like I wish his wings were more clearly like up here in a pose. But and like Kaylee said, another twinned one here. But getting those wings up so that we get a real big flap and that contrast because the legs sort of kicking down is really nice. But then immediately goes into him just being like and like a 180 flip. Uh, that I wish, like, I feel this is an opportunity that him flapping down like this, he could be also spinning himself and sort of connecting those actions a bit more to add to that physicality and sort of launch him onto that ceiling. Which also just because of like the nature of your lighting, it becomes really gray and it's really hard to. You assume that he's touching it, but I think there'd be you could do something with like even a flatter shader here that was a darker color with a little bit of the ambient occlusion would just give us some grounding to where he's connecting to here because it's like a lot of gray in the void. But this big spin here, I think there's a lot of room for this to be really motivated, even in like how this arm is twisted, one being a little bit more up and one being a little bit more down. He could be like cranking his arm through to like help him spin through that action to get him onto the ceiling there would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think there could be just like a little bit more like offset in some things. I kind of noticed like with this like smash in the beginning, kind of everything comes down at once. And I feel like if you want to add like a bit more power to it, you can like bring the chest down, but have the arms still sort of like remain in the air. So it's sort of like this kind of thing where it's like the chest goes down first and then the arms sort of like go down after. So it's like gives it like the arms a little bit more momentum in that swing because it's powered by his like spine moving first. And then just like another general thing I was noticing on this like flap here, it also kind of seems like the wings and the arms sort of move at the same time. So if there's like a little bit of like offset in that like maybe the arms go down first and then the wings like go down after, or vice versa, whatever like feels best for the purpose of the scene. I think that would also like help make it feel a little bit more natural.
I think one of the things I think about. So, go ahead.
Corin, go for it.
Wait.
Okay. Coming from WoW, we had a lot of like dragons, creatures with wings. Like one of the questions we would always ask too is like what kind of wings are they? Are they going to be like a secondary thing that we're always having for nice like overlapping? Are they like they're moving with the body and flowing? Or are they like more sentient feeling? Like are they going to be like stiff and like are they going to have like a motion that they're like portraying through their wings essentially? I feel like the direction this has gone currently is like they are more of like they're following like body motion. I feel like there's a couple of moments where you might be able to do the opposite, where instead of having like a big secondary, like the wings come down with a smash right here, maybe tuck them in through here. Like you do have them tucked in, maybe splay them out like he's smashing, and it might be like more exciting if he smashes and they like the shoot out to the side. Like he has a thought process going instead of them just being like a secondary action that's following him. And that would kind of give you some space to go into this, like the flap down as well. So yeah, just like the thought process behind how you're going to treat wings and if they're going to be like an actor themselves or if they're going to be just serving the purpose of like locomotion and traveling around, I think would be a good question to ask during a lot of these moments.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, I mean, since we are talking about a flying shot, there is a certain amount of just like physics to flying with wings that you can draw from. And there are just some things that are like true about how wings work. Something, that's worth calling out is like there's almost no creatures with wings in the real world that flap to take off. Almost all like birds, they jump first and then catch themselves with the wings because their wings aren't actually like strong enough to like just flap them up into the air. And so trying to piggyback off of some like naturalistic things that you can like draw from is always like helpful. So, if you want this to maybe feel a little bit more believable, having him kind of like have a moment where he like jumps a little bit like this, and then the wings like billow up in these shapes like here out, and then the next frame it's like they're way up, and then you get like a big flap down, or whatever, flap down like that would probably put it a little bit more into the realm of believability. And the second thought around that is that there are like very specific shapes that wings hit when you're flying. You can like, go look at almost any animal that flies, and it's like these very specific way that it moves. And I'm not saying you have to be like, I'm not saying you need to go like How to Train Your Dragon this and like make it the most realistic flying thing in the world, right? But when I see some of these poses, like this is a pose here that's kind of like the wings are kind of in an awkward shape, and just knowing how like a bird wing works, the shape you're kind of looking for is actually like this shape because of the way the bone structure is, right? And when they pull up, we kind of like lead with this shoulder with a like bent elbow and drag what's essentially these like fingers behind. And so trying to like actually capture, these classic wing shapes that everybody recognizes are just going to like help it kind of shine, and not just having these sort of like random poses on the wings. It's pretty, like, I just really suggest going to YouTube and just like YouTube a couple bird videos of like, I look for like osprey taking off, or like eagles taking off, like these really big birds, and see how much of that is just them like, literally jumping and catching themselves, and how the shapes of the wing are like just these iconic shapes that you'll see over and over again in those videos.
I think you've also built a good opportunity in Right, because you have him smash and then you have him roar up, but you could have him like be Hulk smashing his way up. So that's him actually pushing his way up with his huge arms into that initial hit, and then the wings catch. I think there's a way to like blend all these actions together in a really satisfying way. Recommendation from the chat. A to the J says Brendan Body's bird flight tutorial might be something that helps you out here. The old timer gave a buzz, so you know what that means. We're wrapped up on this one. Any final thoughts from the rats? Rapid fire. Beautiful. Can we get rats in the chat, please, for Ignacio? Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. It is awesome. I'm also going to put the little, we'll probably keep going here for another 15-ish minutes. Any rats who got to dip out, let us know right now. Feel free to piece if you got a piece. Give us a little sign off so we could say bye to you if you're leaving. Anybody leaving?
I can do
one more.
One more?
I got
one more.
Yeah.
One more. All right. And that is number 5 on this one. Yeah, baby. Let's do it. Number 5. All righty. Does everybody see this scythe girl? And this is exactly what Corin was talking about right now. It's like, oh, just give us your name right here. It'd be so good. I can see it in the review that says Matthias. Matthias, if you were in the chat, let us know. And I'm going to hit play. Oh, that's loud. Just quickly, right off the bat, double check your audio. It was as quiet as I could make it, and it was pretty loud. All right. Any thoughts, rats?
Yeah.
One.
All right. This one, before we press play, I was like, can we not separate the characters here? Because the overlapping character, I was like, it would be nice to have one to the side, you know, and then the bad guy or whatever, just so you can see some perspective. Which I know you go to a few frames later, but it'd be cool to have that have had that. Oh wow, it's like, yeah, there you go. And I know this is the same shot as the second one, just from a different angle. But this second hit, especially on the side shot, like you have her, like she comes in, she does that, and then this is missing so much power for me. This could be like hugely like impactful, where she really just really sweeps forward with herself here, dragging that weapon, and basically just slamming it into this dude's back, and that would be cool because then he's coming down, and then she hits him this way, and then all of a sudden he rebounds the other way, and you create this like he's falling this way, and then the next frame he's like inverted, basically the weight of this weapon coming in. That would be a cool moment, I think, to add that to there. And then she drops him on the floor, pulls, like maybe sticks it in, holds it for a second, and then yanks it out. That's a cool, like loads of physicality there. That would be really, really hard to do as well. So it'd be a good demo reel piece, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. It actually took me on the rewatch. I think that she's supposed to be cradling him,
Oh,
but I didn't catch that until I was like just looking while you were chatting. But I think like this is a takedown. She just slit his throat. Man, way cooler, more physical, more impactful if she does what you described right after. Bam, really like finishing the job, scythe through the heart, and then wrenching that thing out. Why is she being delicate with his body? Maybe she's being sneaky. Who's being sneaky with a two-handed scythe? I don't know about that. Anyway, sorry.
I think what you guys both said is a good observation of the situation where someone doesn't get to explain their thought process to us. So now you have to hope that you're doing something well enough to nail exactly what you're thinking. And it's tough. That's one of the toughest things is, being like, oh, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to be portraying in my animation. Then you show it to someone. And if it's something very specific, it's going to be a lot harder to really figure out to get other people to like, oh, this is actually what I want. So I think that's a good learning opportunity. Is we're not in your head. We will see things a certain way, and we might be giving notes on something like that as a totally different take that you had. So.
And I do think that, just to then talk about the concept here, I know we're supposed to be talking about the general reel, but having like one of my general thoughts of the whole reel is the same as from the last one, which is there's a lot of stuff that feels very even and very like kind of like real life as opposed to like animated to, with like exciting timing and texture to it. And so like, even if this was the concept you're going for, which is that, oh, they like slit this guy's throat and then they catch them to be silent, I think you could make that work, but I would push it way, way, way further. Like when the throat gets slit, have it be like, it's like right? It's like incredibly violent. And then contrast that with that when this catch happens, like right now, it just sort of like, oh, it like slides down to the ground. Have it like actually feel like she takes the weight of it and really slowly, gently, like lets it down and slides off, right? And then maybe even like once the blade's like out from under, she like zips a little bit, like she's like done with her job, right? And so even just with some like spacing and timing changes to the existing shot, I think you could better sell, what's there and this idea that you're trying to sell. Like if just as she was about to, like lay him down, it's like she's like gently resting him at the very end on a little pillow by adding like 10 extra frames to that as she slides that out from under him, and you get to feel that like as the blade kind of comes out from under him. Could be like,
I think overall with the reel, we run into that thing that we talked about before where it's like there might just be a bit too much redundancy. I think I get the idea that this shot here is like motion capture in comparison to this shot here being keyframed, but because they're the same concept, it kind of isn't as like interesting, I feel like, to watch. I think if they're gonna do like a motion capture thing, I would want it to be like a different concept or like a different idea. So it shows that like, yeah, you could do keyframe and you could do motion capture, but you could animate in different contexts as well.
I have two more notes unless other people want to talk.
Do it.
Go for it.
this guy is a pretty bad rig to use, I think, especially because you can't see the legs or anything. And this whole bit is just like a solid block that never changes shape, right? So it can't. So when you're doing a jump, you might want to like pull the hips up and have the legs do their thing, whatever it might be, and the arms come up or whatever. But you can't. You literally can't really do it with this guy. You can't experiment with shapes and line of action and stuff. So I would be tempted to replace this guy because his jump is like, I mean, you probably get the knee out or something there or something like that, but it's just hard to do stuff with this guy in this context of what you're trying to do in Unreal.
You could adjust the camera and pitch it as like a Supercell game. They're like, like if the proportions, like, oh, I wonder if there's some realm where it's like, oh, this might read better or work as a top down, something of a different style.
Yeah. Okay. And then this shot, I think this is really cool. This one, lots of cool shape changes and things like that. Something that jumped to mind. This harks onto Skylar's point about timing and stuff. So you could apply his feedback to this as well. But my last thing is this screams for me that she should chop this this block in half basically at the end. She comes down with a giant like slam, like a slash or something, because you just she's right there, she's poised, she could just cut it in half at the end. It'd be cool. That was it.
I have one editing notes. Like when I watched it the beginning, the part, I saw lots of the unuseful frames. Like after here, like you see like characters not moving at all, and then it's like it's tons of frame, and then it happened a lot in between the shots. So maybe delete it or just putting the breathing animation so make it more useful there. And then also as a fallen animator, I saw your gun animation here. And then when I saw that, like I cannot see any weight on it. So make more weight and then like powerful reaction with something with the action. So yeah, because now it looks like very light. So making more powerful for putting the actual deal. Yeah.
It also has something that I'm only noticing because we're looking at it now. It does this thing where it sort of starts in one place and then you're like firing and it goes out. And while you keep firing, it sort of starts, goes out, and returns to almost the exact same location, which I feel like if you're going to continuously fire, it ends somewhere very different. And then you'd have to sort of reset between the firing. There's not a lot of weight, and there is like a drilling motion that ends up being repetitive when you see it on a loop. All right. So if there was one shot that you would remove, what shot would that be?
I'd probably remove. You asked what when we'd remove, like take off it. I'd probably remove this guy. It is a bummer because it's like in game. So I do appreciate, and yeah, I'm always harping on like show stuff in game, show stuff in game. But I agree with Warren that like the rig's just not doing any favors. The first shot is a close second for me, but the thing about it is that I think it could be a great shot with a little bit of work. So in its current state, I think we had a lot to say about it, but when I like really think about it, I'm like, oh, it could be such a neat shot with it, with all the feedback that Warren gave about like just staging it right to camera and like trying to amp up the timing of it, and maybe even doing that thing that Warren said where he like actually catches it on the blade instead with like some oomph to it instead of like kind of cradling it. Like it could be such a sweet shot, but its current state, those are kind of the two shots. And like I think it was, I don't know, one of you said that the first two shots there are like very similar anyways. So like by cutting the weaker one, you kind of keep one that serves some of the same purpose on the reel. So
yeah, I don't know. When it comes to the Unreal shot, I think I am with you in that like I'm not a fan of the proportions. I feel like you have like the bones of something like really solid here. It's just, yeah, what Warren was saying earlier, where it's like the rig just really isn't doing any favors with you. But I see a lot of what you are doing in that, like, oh, there's like a jump landing, there's like the idle to, or the run to idle stop kind of stuff. Like I think that like, it's cool that you're doing all those components, and maybe I would just want to like see like another stab at it with like something else. So like I don't know. I think that's really cool that you're like doing a lot of that in-game stuff personally. So I'd want to see like just like a different type of character that's like easier to get like a clear silhouette. So yeah.
I think, can I talk really quick about the before like chopping one? But I think this reel could really benefit from just a different editing, a different order. Like I think there's like 2 different reels in here, like the one we're seeing and like the one that I could potentially see is like there's a lot of small things in like editing that I feel like you have to step one, you have to start with something like really exciting to get people's attention. You have to start with something like big that's exciting to like, oh, but you get people locked in. I think your stuff with her, you have a couple of shots with her. Like I think this shot's pretty exciting and pretty well done. It's like higher energy too, so you're starting something fancy and spinning, and like simply put, it's like, ooh, it's catching my eye because like spinny stuff is happening. I'm like, ooh, it seems like And then I think this shot's pretty well done for 1P. Also, I think you could like small notes like chop these first couple frames. You don't need that. Like it just like jump right into the action. Like I think there's a lot more a reel that's a lot more exciting in here than like what you've shown just by doing some like editing tricks. Like start off with a bang, get some like head stab, get this guy going, then maybe show the stuff that's more like when you're demonstrating something that's like motion capture cleanup. Like I think it is nice to have if you're applying for a job that needs that. Don't put it in the front though, because it's the kind of task, like it's not like the glamorous thing that people want to see and have their eyes get caught. So I would really like to see this reel with a full different organization of it, just to see how that the energy it brings.
Yeah.
I also think to add to that, can I steal the control for like 2 seconds? This shot actually could probably do double duty as like 2 shots in the reel if you cut it in half. So you could do like if you wanted to kind of get, because this is like one of the more exciting shots, and with like a little bit of extra stuff that Warren talked about, could be like a really good shot. I could see a version of this where you like cut in closer and you show like this side of this animation here, and then you cut this second piece, like the kind of finale part where she like grabs this edge, swoops around and cuts down or whatever, as like a separate piece that's also pulled in to get like double bang for your buck, and then you could splice something else between it. So exactly what Corin said, like I think there's like some really cool stuff in this reel, but it could just use like a little editing love.
Big +1. The only caveat with that I would add for like which shot I would sort of take out or with needs love. You have this mocap cleanup shot, but I think it's not, both editing wise, it's not doing work for you, but also with like your choices. It feels really grounded and really clean, but it's like so your raw footage. I'm like, your raw footage actually looks like pretty good. There's like some hand cleanup. Taking the raw footage and really zhuzhing it, not so that it's like the perfectly clean version of the raw footage, but really adding your animation taste to it, your animation eye, adding a bit of more of a hold back here with clear poses, even more, and then smashing through really quickly so you get a really hard impact. Where as it is, I guess it's not perfectly sort of slowing down. I guess we have one frame that's twice there. That's just the nature of whatever. But like, we don't really get the feeling of like the impact of it, like speeding up, wham, into that thing. There's a way, like, if you're going to use this, especially as you are sort of pitching as like a game takedown, that there has to be something that makes it feel more violent, like a big takedown, but it feels like a guy hitting a pad in a thing. And it feels so human that you have to make this character and this takedown, I think, feel a little bit more aspirational. And maybe that's not like the ask for the game that you're working on, but for the demo reel that you're working on, and you're trying to show your best work and how you can take mocap and make something crafted and that feels that like there's that handcrafted human element in it. I think that's what I think would really sell like great mocap on a demo reel. Amazing work here. Oh gosh, Matthias, thank you so much for sharing your reel with us. Can we get rats in the chat for Matthias, please? And I think that's gonna just about wrap it up for our first demo reel stream, our first animation review stream of 2026, baby. Let's do a little sign off here so that people know where they can find you, if anywhere. No pressure if you don't have social media to share what you're at. But rats in our little chat here. Thank you so much. Give us a who you are one more time, and if you want to be found on social media, where can you be found?
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I'm John DeFont. I go by JCDAFONTE, JC DeFont on anything. So, yeah. Or you could just look at my name and see what pops up at the end.
Beauty.
I just wanted to thank everyone for being courageous. It takes a lot of guts to throw your stuff up there and let people, strangers, essentially take a look and pick it apart. So kudos to everyone that took a shot and did it. It's beneficial to your career. You get your name out there, keep it up, and being a part of this community is already a first big step. So thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Super cool.
I'll go next. Sorry, we talked at the same time. Yeah, I'm Skylar. I don't have much social media. I've kind of like wiped from the internet and haven't shipped anything in a long time. So maybe someday I'll have social media when I ship a game at Riot. Woo!
Yeah, I'm Kaylee Choi, and then you can find me in Instagram and YouTube with like KAILEYANI, like Kaylee Annie. So usually I'm posting all the Valorant animation process video there, so you can check it out there. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Beauty. My name is Lana Bashinsky. You can find me on the interwebs at Latieni. That's LATIENIE. I also not tweet. We don't be tweeting. We blue sky. There's a bird up there. We're not on the bird site. We blue sky on behalf of blue sky on behalf of the rat animators. So you can find all of us there. We also have our Discord community. That is probably the best way to get in touch with any of the rats. We have a forum there that a couple people, the good old Dr. Flapjack, Brand Anime, I think Alex are really good at being in the forums, answering questions on the reg. Everybody, you didn't get demo reels or animation feedback today. There's a beautiful community of folks out there offering feedback. And honestly, if I get on a long flight, I found out there's no better way to pass the time than a few real reviews for the rats. That's about it for us. We'll see you again very soon. And until next time, rats.
Cool. Thank you.